Hi, I'm Andrew Wallace, and welcome to the We've Got a Problem podcast, where each week we explore inspiring stories of struggle, success, and solutions to prevalent problems and how our guests have turned problems into opportunities. This week, I'm joined by Chad Gerber, who's a platinum-selling musician, patented investor, NFT artist, and founder of the mixed reality technology company Melusine, all of which we're going to talk about today. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having me on.
I love your studio back there. You've got your records behind you, and there's also a Frank Sinatra album in the background.
Yes. I have my buddy. He lives out in the Valley. He's a musician, and whenever he gets cool stuff, I just tell him I'm going to take it. We do it since we were kids. So I'll just I have a pair of sunglasses that I stole from him years ago, but he got that on his birthday.
Okay.
I just said, I'm just going to need that from you. And he goes, don't take my record. And I was like, I just need one. And so then, and then later on, at some point, he brought it to me. He's like, well, because you wanted it. So,
there's a lot of cool stuff in the background there that very important to have a relaxed studio. So
yeah,
how you gotta bring me into kind of your path. You grew up in kind of a rural environment, did you not?
Yeah, just a bit. It smelled of cow pasture and oil refineries. That's the smell of my childhood. I grew up in Montana in an oil refinery kind of town called Billings, and I lived outside of it. And it was lots of spaces to roam and herd cattle and whatnot. But as a musician, it was a bit complicated,
limiting, perhaps. That maybe
a little bit
not
limiting.
So many places to play gigs and stuff.
Yeah, not really. I tried playing some gigs when I was real young, but there was, I think, one club, and I wasn't 21, so I couldn't play it. But it was rural America, which ended up playing a huge role in my whole life. Since I was kind of disconnected from what I was trying to do, I had to figure out creative ways to get connected.
Sure. Well, so and how did you get into music to begin with? Were you in a musical household? Were people just...
No, we actually didn't listen to music in my household. It's super weird, and there was no specific reason. It just happened that way. Although when I was in the car with my mom, she would let me listen to jazz in the classical station, and then at home I would find they had an old record player, and all I had was a this weird leftover McDonald's Big Mac song on it's super. Anyways, I listened to that, but I didn't have access to music. And then one day my parents were like, you need to take music lessons because it's good for you or something. And then before I knew it, I was playing guitar and it made sense to my life. And then I was head over heels, so that kicked off, I think, at 7.
So who were your first loves for music when you started getting into it?
I didn't really know what their names were, but I think it was a lot of B.B. King and stuff. It's just whoever was on these weird stations that, they'd be like, and that was Muddy Waters with a piece on. And so that's basically what I was a little kid. I didn't know what I was listening to, but I'd go home and turn on the radio, and I just kind of play to the radio. I was taking classical guitar lessons. So I was learning classical and all that, and then going and making up my own stuff. And then people kind of got wind of it locally, and they'd be like, hey, do you want to go play at this thing or do this? And so I said yes to everything.
So just yes, hey, say yes. That's a big trick for anybody in life, right? Just say yes. Let's go.
Yes to anything. I played in so many weird bands, projects, groups. I mean, I'd be playing the guitar at some weird, cowboy store one day, playing in a church choir the next day, playing anything. Garage bands, whatever I could get my hands on.
Well, in a way, you're getting your reps in. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing with hey, I gotta play. So you're just saying yes. You're getting out there. You said, you had to find kind of different ways, innovative ways to get yourself out there. What was kind of your first? I hesitate to call big break, but what kind of transitioned you from
rural
local artist, cool guy Chad to
more like I feel like I like to think of myself as a lone wolf, but I don't have a clue. I have no idea what I was, but what I would do is I'd sneak backstage when bands came through town, and I'd pass them my info and just I think it terrified them, to be honest. I'd sneak into green rooms and everything else. And I found one guy out of Florida who was a musician. He did some cool stuff with like the Atlanta Symphony and all these different groups, and he was basically, he humored me, I guess. He was like, yeah, send me some stuff. And then he was kind enough to kind of connect me with some music projects. And then at like 16 or 17, I actually ended up going into Florida to play in like bands with all these grown-ups, which was super weird, but fun.
Yeah.
So that was kind of happening. And I go back to Montana, dead. And then a demo kind of like landed in the right place. And then I got a call to play guitar in this like hip hop duo thing out of Dallas, Texas. And they were under a label. I don't know if it's still around or not. I think it's called like Tooth and Nail. I think Capitol bought that label. I think it's weird enough is that in my catalog now, the first track I ever did, which was some indie label thing, is now a Universal project. So it got sucked up at some point along the years. But Dallas, Texas was my first like fly in, paid on tour thing. And then after that, wasn't long after I blindly moved to Los Angeles to pursue it. Card in hand.
Yeah, I was going to say, it better have your... It's like, see you at Disneyland, bring money. Like
basically, it was like, yeah, apartment wasn't secured until I was driving through Vegas. So I'm like on the phone, like, yeah, I'll take it. Is it, is available? So I was right by the Burbank airport, and I had a light relationship with the local gang because they hung out on the stoop of my apartment. So I just be like, hey guys, super awkward. But yeah, that was like how like they actually would be getting busted, and the cop would be there. And I would be like, hey guys, just gonna get right by you here, just squeeze up the stairs. But it was worth it, man. Like I had to do it, so it worked.
Well, I mean, what's cool to me is everybody I talk to has formed a different path. I mean, there's no one prescription. There's no way that you could say to somebody, okay, what you've got to do is move to rural Montana and then start sneaking into concerts, and then go to Florida and then Texas, and then blindly move to California. That's the secret to making it and becoming a platinum selling artist. It's just nobody would believe it if you told you, but that's the way it happened.
The guarantee is if you can handle being kicked in the face. Oh, my audio just crashed. I'm so glad I have this microphone now that's just doing absolutely nothing.
We're back in. It'll just be a big sloppy file. I forgot, what was the last question? Where are we at?
Well, and scene. What we were talking about was just the path that you've taken. That nobody would believe it if you told them this is the way to do it, because there isn't a prescription, and yet everybody finds their own path, and sometimes it works. My dad got into music. And wanted, I mean, really, his dream was to be a singer-songwriter. Yeah. And he and Chuck Lorre, who's also been very successful in the entertainment business. Chuck created a bunch of shows, Big Bang Theory, Mike and Molly, Two and a Half Men.
Names after the end of like every show.
Yeah, correct. If it's a multi-camera sitcom, pretty much it's Chuck Lorre's show. Yeah. And Chuck wrote it best, but he said that the secret to doing great in comedy is to find something you love and fail miserably at it, and then find a new career. Yeah. Because that's what he did. Chuck wanted to be a musician, and just like my dad did. My dad was not particularly successful at being a musician, and Chuck Lorre actually wrote the theme song. His biggest hit was he wrote the theme song to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I didn't know Chuck Lorre wrote that.
Yeah, Chuck Lorre wrote the theme song to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's done. That's success right there. Are you kidding me?
Done. And then, check that one off, and then move on
I don't even care about his sitcoms. That's legit.
So that's it.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, you obviously had a bunch of success. You got into the Sunset Strip music scene, moved through all of that, but also you've had a lot of interplay with technology. Technology has really mattered a lot to the stuff that you've done. Kind of had a lifelong fascination with dismantling and modifying. How did you get into that stuff?
again, it's kind of weird. Like I feel like in the last several years, my life is very reminiscent of Slumdog Millionaire. Not nearly as dark and complex, but all these stupid things that I was doing in order to compensate for maybe rural and lack of entertainment or whatever. One of them was technology, I guess. So when I was like 6 and stuff, I just started taking things apart. Wanted to know how the infrared sensors on TV remotes worked. And for whatever reason, my parents were totally fine with me just ripping things apart. I don't know why. Honestly, to this day, I still have no idea why. They're like, you go get it. I'm like, and then when it was music, they're like, wait, what is that? But it led into walkie-talkies. And so then I'd rip apart these walkie-talkies and I'd find components and things. And long story short, I got into, I think it's technically 11-meter radio, CB radio. Okay. Later, I'd move into like ham radio. But anyways, I started to build up gear. I found somebody locally who was in this like CB radio world. And so he would help me kind of like build things and modify things so I could talk to honestly anywhere in the world. So I was this little kid and I'd be talking to people in Jamaica and Australia and stuff. It's wild. And they had no idea what I sounded like because I could modify the microphone to make me sound older.
Okay.
I was going to say, like, yeah.
You're like pirate gypsy radio, like whatever the term is. Like, did you have your license? Like, you're supposed to have to get your
Well, so for CB radio, the FCC has cleared that one. You do not need a license. However, you cannot use illegal things to amplify your signal, which I definitely didn't do. I did. And that's how you could talk out further.
Right.
On top of it, I did do shortwave radio where I would listen to actual pirate stations, which was super bad in the FCC's eyes, you know?
Right.
So that it kind of turned into this weird technology thing. And at the same time, and at the time I didn't see, it was just what I did. I guess most kids would be like playing Pogs and I wanted to read an aviation book or something. I didn't know it was a problem, but my grandma would like get all these popular mechanics magazines and like set them aside for me. So I was a little kid pouring through all of these, like what the future is going to look like.
Right.
So that was like my side life while I was doing all this music stuff. And this just didn't have a place. It wouldn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't exist in my future. It's just fun.
Right. It was just a side thing.
Yeah. And then somehow the two collided in the last several years. Like, and now I'm neck deep and fusing it all together in a big mutant pile.
Yeah. So talk to me about the mutant pile.
The mutant pile. Man.
Yeah. The Melocene platform. I've tried to research it and I don't fully understand it.
We're in what do they call it? Stealth mode right now.
Okay.
So what happened is that I'm a Gibson artist and I was working with Gibson and I was like, I think we should be able to do more with your brand on guitars. And like a lot of brands, they kind of just go for that rock and roll thing, which is cool. But I was like meeting with them and discussing options to make guitar a little more accessible to all kinds of genres and involving it in, producing, like what you can do with the guitar as a production controller or stuff like that.
Right.
And so while that's going on, I had this harebrained idea that in 2025, I was going to figure out how to do all of this in VR when VR mattered and started to care, like anybody cared about it. But once the pandemic hit, everything just kind of exploded. And then in one of the meetings with Gibson, I mentioned that and they were just like, well, hold up. Let's, forget all this other stuff you're talking about. Hold
up. We got to rock it till the wheels fall off.
Like, basically, yeah. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's my VR thing. And they were like, well, we want to talk more about that. And so then I was like, okay, well, let me get back to you. And that was when it just kind of started to snowball. So I contacted my patent attorney and I was like, I need to get this thing patented and blah, blah, blah. Tech teams. It was ridiculous, just from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour. And then the technology that allows people to bring any real world music into the Melocene platform was born so that people can bring their guitar into the platform and plug it in, piano, keyboard, DJ, whatever. And you can then be in a virtual space with your band, your audience. You and I could be doing this entire podcast as in a virtual space on top of a mountain.
Well, why aren't we, Chad?
Because it's a slow process in the corporate tech world, I found out. That's where I'm at now.
I was like this. Because I fall along the lines of this is supposed to be the future. Where's my rocket pad?
Yeah. Yes, and that is why going back to the popular mechanics stuff and all that, I always thought that we were going to be there, And then
Right.
this is another weird Slumdog Millionaire moment. Is I was on tour in Europe and I was exhausted and hadn't slept for like 3 days, and I was getting on a train from like Paris to London, and my manager was like, here's your, go here, basically show up here.
Right.
And before I knew it, I was riding on the high-speed train that goes under the English Channel.
Right, the Channel train,
Which
yeah.
I read about when I was a little kid, how in the future there'll be a train that goes underneath the thing. And all of a sudden I was on the train, and I couldn't believe how musty it smelled when we were going under the thing. But I was like, this is like the only thing that happened from all of this is it. So then it kind of also got me going like, if no one's doing it, maybe I should just do it. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I'll do it.
Well, that's part of the thing. I mean, it's okay. Guess I got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, hold my beer. I
Right.
I'll fine. Like
That's how it kind of kicked off. So then it was like, I know a bit about tech. I used to rip the stuff apart. I used to modify radios, so if I wanted to, I could talk to the police on them and get in trouble and whatever. But what if I applied that to something that actually mattered?
Right.
And so then that's what it turned into. And then launching companies and investors and all that stuff is insanity. And then we went through a wave of a bunch of people throwing money at us, but they wanted to take it and kind of make it their own thing. Everybody wants to retrofit it back into 2008.
Yeah.
So they're like, you can't just have people able to monetize their spaces and do things like that. We need to do it this way. And so we're like, we can't. You're going to ruin it.
Well,
So-
yeah, I imagine a huge challenge, because we find that in my business, in the entertainment business, so often that somebody comes in with an idea, and what everybody really wants to do is try and fit it into the box that they have waiting, and that just doesn't. You're this is new. You're coming at this from the wrong perspective. We can't use the old rules to apply here. We've got to be leading, which is
and like it comes
trick.
from the evolution. And that's a part of it. Is because I was and as a kid, I'd be reading books on inventors and patents and stuff like that. When I was a kid, I was interested in getting patented for it. I don't know, man. I didn't tell anybody this stuff, by the way. I was like the secret nerd kid who was like nerding out, and I get around my guys and be like, let's go play some basketball. But like what I saw is that the pattern of technology is actually what pushes art and innovation. It's not, the art doesn't create the technology. That's what creates the art. Like we wouldn't have rap and DJing if it weren't for the fact that they couldn't get the expensive guitars and all that. So people just pieced together home entertainment gear to make it. So the technology is what moves it. And right now we're in this just sludge of beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
There's no technology pushing it into the next evolution. And that's where I was like, again, waiting for somebody to do it. And then I was like, I guess I have to try and do it.
Guess I have to do it. Well,
I guess I have to do it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Marty McFly.
Thanks a lot, Marty.
Thanks, Biff.
Doc Brown. You can all the inventions. I mean, necessity is in a sense the mother of invention, right? So we're in the middle of a pandemic now. Wouldn't it be really cool if we had this way to grow community, foster connectedness when we're disconnected?
Right.
You look back at the invention of the solid body electric guitar, right? Les Paul, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Like why? What I wanted that sound. That couldn't happen any other way.
He just made it happen. He was, and he didn't know what he was doing. He just made it happen.
Yeah.
So, and I found that, and the thing is he didn't even have YouTube. Now, if you want to make something or do anything,
I just found that
YouTube
out.
It.
I just found out that Les Paul didn't have YouTube.
Quick fact: I don't know if you knew this or not. Les Paul did not have access to YouTube. So that was the thing. Is I was like, I have all this accumulative knowledge of things, and then at some point I squeezed in my media arts degree, and I just kind of like started piecing it into a big blob, and I was like, this is the only way this is going to work, or not. But I got to still like just go for it.
Oh, that's another lesson for people out there is no. I mean, look, I don't know if it's going to work. That's a constant problem that we've talked about in other episodes, is that people dismiss things because they haven't done them before and they don't know where the line is.
Right.
And so you go, I can't do that. You go, how do you know? You haven't even tried. Like that you haven't gone down that road. And well, that's past. I don't have that strength. I don't have that whatever. And you go, well, you don't know where your breaking point is. I've talked with a couple of guests, and I don't think they've all published yet. And I sound like a broken record on this sometimes, but there's a principle in like the Navy SEALs of learning where your line is, that when you think you're about to give up, about to drown, about to do whatever, you're really only at 40%. So just realize you think the line's here and it's way over here, and you've got so much more to give. When it comes to what can I do? Do I know I'm going to succeed? No, I don't know if I've got a guaranteed result here. There's almost no guaranteed result, but why not try something cool? Because if it really turns out, this would be awesome. I mean, awesome.
Well, that was the other thing, is like the Wright brothers, according to science at the time, nobody would fly for 1,000 years. We have 1,000 years to crack the physics of flight. And these guys, because of the succession of the combustion engine becoming smaller,
right?
These guys basically like, well, we just slap one of these on a thing, and they just did it. And then all of a sudden, if anything, it just disproved that you cannot just never underestimate the innovation of strange people. Because if you're willing to try it, again, almost everything that's ever been created is because of just let's just see what happens here. Well, and I have the luxury of even just now, I can actually find I had to build phenomenal teams that are able to build it and be like, it works. Like, this actually works. And I didn't have to risk my life. I didn't have to jump on a plane and do it myself.
So how do you do that? What's the secret? Tell me about how to form a worldwide team to build a technology platform in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's easy. Super, super easy. So as a musician, I'm constantly having to find, over the years, I need to find a bass player, drummer, blah, blah, blah. And then you just kind of have these networks of, hey, do you guys know any good drummers or whatever? And then you just kind of piece it together, and then you find out if they suck or not. Right. I just kind of end up doing that through, I have friends who are geniuses that have done stuff for the military, NASA, and everybody else. And I just started kind of just making calls and just hitting them up. And my one friend lives in Colorado, and he's part of some huge cybersecurity company. I'm like, who am I looking for in this situation?
Right.
And I'm calling like a family member. I think they're like Intel or something. I'm like, what does this look like? And so I just started piecing together this like really not very interesting A-team sort of thing of just people that do different things, and then seeing if they all can collaborate together. So I was able to find these different components and then get everybody in meetings and be like, this is what I'm doing. I want to apply this to this, tweak this. Can we do it? And then they would leave and then come back and be like, yeah, we can do it.
Well, I think the big thing is always, I'm not the expert here. You guys are ostensibly the experts.
Yeah.
Is this possible? Can this be done? Who else do I need? What else do I need to know? What are we not thinking? Why can't this work? Which is, I suppose, a little bit of an Elon Musk thing kind of too. Is like, I don't understand why we don't have this.
Yeah, and I got yelled at a lot. I got the amount of people who got really emotionally upset at me for even suggesting we could bring in and kind of evolve music in some capacity in the metaverse, which used to just be called VR before Zuckerberg slapped his name on it. But that made a lot of people really mad. So I had to go through calls of technicians and things like that, and they'd be like, how dare you suggest that that's even music if it's going over an internet connection? It's just wild how many people, it was the weirdest thing in the world to have these conversations where they'd be like, how dare you ruin the purity of music? And it was entirely based upon, I'm like, upon what? The fact that we're collaborating through the internet, like through a VR space, like,
yeah.
But they were, a lot of people got really mad until I found the people that were like, this is phenomenal, let's do it.
Right. Well, that's, again, finding advocates to add to your team is one of the most crucial skills of all. I liken it a little bit to the people who say that digital recording destroyed music, and you go,
exactly.
I can explain to you I need a whiteboard and lots of charts, but I can explain to you why the Nyquist-Shannon algorithm proves that a digital recording reproduces perfectly the signal that comes through. The problem is that it's perfect. Right. Yeah. It is an exact representation. There is no noise. There's no loss. There's no whatever. It is exactly what got fed in. So you can tell me that those phonograph records back there sound better, and that's a personal assessment.
Totally. Right.
But the truth
get mad
is,
about it.
Right, but don't be upset that somebody's come up with a way to do something that, again, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I can show you is exactly a 1-to-1 replication of what you got.
It messes with people's it messes with like their reality anchor stones for some reason. If you're like, like again, we could have an entire podcast on audio quality between MP3s and lossless files and all day long. But at the end of the day, the kid that's like rapping at a party in Compton, he doesn't care if it's an MP3 or a vinyl. Just give him some music to do his thing, and everybody's hyped.
Well, they're
good,
and that's the other part of it. It's like there's a degree. We can split hairs here,
right?
But the average person, one, won't be able to tell the difference beyond a certain level, and two, that you have it is way better than not having it at all. So, imagine what it would have been like to have never had recorded sound, and then you get that Thomas Edison.
I know.
Wax cylinder. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mary Had a Little Lamb, I think, was the very first. Sounded like straight out of a nightmare, by the way.
Yeah. No,
but it worked.
Yeah.
And back then, people were like, "Oh, I love it. It sounds so real."
This is the bee's knees. It's a cat's meow, man. Like this is.
Meanwhile, Ouija boards are spinning in the background. That thing is terrifying. It's so creepy. But it worked, and that was exactly You just
and also it advanced. I mean, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It very quickly the Victor company came out with the Victrola and the this and the that, and that gave us 78 RPM records and 45 RPM records.
And it started to push music out of that, that guy in the back of the bar on a cat gut string guitar. Yeah. Like now all of a sudden it's everywhere. Like music exists now. Yeah. It's whatever gets the job done effectively, quickly, and cheaply. But then these other people, they'll be like, I'm still mixing my my bass. I've been on it, same track for 3 years, but I'm getting it real close. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares.
That's the other side of it. Is you're measured on what you release and what you put out and what gets done. We have a similar problem with people who've been working on their same screenplay for 15 years.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Oh my gosh, that's that's the heartbeat of LA. It is so crazy. That stuff is crazy. And like I'm in the music world, and I run into some of those guys that they've been tweaking their debut album for 9 years or whatever. Nothing's ever going to happen. But those screenplay, I know some screenplay people that are just like, I'm like, how I don't have that much commitment to be involved with something that never finishes. Like, I have to finish it, even if it's complete diarrhea. I need to finish it and get it out of my life. Whereas they were like, I have seen the level of complexity these people go to for their weird script. I'm actually doing a lot of like improv right now. Because what I do is get in the character. I'm like, dude, you know that scriptwriters, they slam out like 50 scripts a day, and they're hustling. You have one for your lifetime. Right.
Well, and again, trying to explain to people, and I don't know if you found this as well, but for scripts and things like that, if for some reason, somehow you ever got that great script that you've just made out, and somebody liked it, the next question is, what else do you have? Like, and I don't have anything else.
You just got your foot in the crack of the door with the one script. It's the same with music people. Like I meet a lot of these people that they're just stuck in a genre or in an old way of thinking. It's actually really fascinating to me that as time goes on, and like I call it chasing ghosts. Don't chase ghosts. You'll never win. You'll never succeed. When I was growing up, I was chasing the ghost of like the Chili Peppers.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Love the Chili Peppers. They're great. Whatever. But at some point I was like, they already existed. That already happened. That's already done. I can't bring that to the table. It's over. It's a ghost. It doesn't exist. But I know so many musicians that just indefinitely chase the Mamas and the Papas and I'm just like, I'm sorry. And I would love for that to be the world we're in.
Right.
But it's not. Like if you want to survive, you got to do something that actually is going to go, or just keep doing retro music in your, and that nobody cares about. And it's good stuff, but
have some fun.
Have fun with it. Don't worry about it.
So I have a couple more questions for you, and just lots of fun stuff because I'm enjoying it. I think we could probably go on for hours. But
I like fun stuff. I need some fun.
Hey, fun.
I want some fun. I don't know what day it is, but I'm here for the fun.
Fun, at least until Daddy took the T-bird away, to quote the Beach Boys.
Thank you. That's something.
So, I mean, what do you see as the future of the music business? Like, how do you... well, part of it is, again, you're creating community with the Melocene platform. You're able to bring people together in a virtual space. But it seems to me, just as an observation, as an ignorant but intelligent observer, I'd like to think, that it's harder and harder to build a fan base these days when we're more and more disconnected and more spread out. I mean, just things are more disparate these days. With the signal to noise ratio is all screwed up. There's just so much content out there. Even finding what you're looking for is difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
it's crazy.
How do people form the community, the fan base, the whatever to be successful in the music business in the future? What do you see?
I see a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of stuff that I'm trying to build in that arena. I think the future of music, again, it's going to be propelled forward with what the technology can do with it. And right now, there are brilliant artists all over the planet, and the majority of them, live in their parents' basement and have 3 fans. The models that we have we kind of gotten to a point now where the art is probably the 4th most important thing on the list. First, you got to have the viral dance video in order to then talk about whatever song. It's kind of gotten mixed up.
Yeah.
And I'm not like saying it's either or, but in the future, I think people who are in it for the art, the music, the creativity, but again, what music has done throughout all time is it's provided a social space for people to just exist, to share ideas, music, collaborate, and create things. Whereas now, the last thing you need to know how to do is to actually be an artist or make music. First, you need to know how to do all your social media and stuff like that.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing is that I know some absolutely brilliant Beethoven-level artists who are just done because they are not good-looking people and they do not have the TikTok skills and everything else, and the industry has no interest in that. But if they can exist in a space where they can they can monetize what they're doing and access the very people on these platforms, like I can't tour throughout Papua New Guinea to my 5 fans over there and have it be worthwhile. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. But what these platforms, what it does is it allows all of your fragmented fan base to actually come and be a part of what you're doing. It doesn't matter where they are. So for the first time, you get to tour and perform however you want for whoever you want, and you're in charge of it, and you can do it from your bedroom in your underwear if you want. But as the platform evolves and as we move forward, it goes from, like right now we're in that kind of 90s welcome to eBay kind of thing. But as it progresses, it's more of it's mixed reality to where people can perform in a space live while their fans from other places are in the space as well. You can all interact with each other. That, along with some really insane programs and projects that I'm putting into Melocene to collaborate and to help aid artists and creatives, is going to, in my opinion, if I succeed, it will bring in a version of music and creativity that we have not seen possible until now. So whereas we think of music in a time linear form, or here's how it goes, what I am trying to build is to obviously give people tools. If they just want to be a folk singer and keep it old school, fantastic. But I am trying to push it for the people who are like, I think music can go into the future now. That is something that I'm building into the platform. I can't obviously break it down, but it takes music out of its limited space of art and turns it into something that humans have not yet experienced on a sonic and visual level. Okay. And that is so I'm basically, music does not have to exist in one way. Your song can exist in a bunch of different ways. You just don't have the capacity to do that yet, but you will.
I like it.
When that happens, then music will kind of have it's jumped again, kind of like when rock and roll showed up. This potentially, I mean, unless I screw the whole thing up, then I'll just get a job at McDonald's. But it could be that really cool launch pad into just something further than what we thought possible with music.
Yeah, it'll blow people's minds when it comes out.
Unless I fail miserably. Unless I fail, then
well, hey, failure's not an option, Chad. Like, you better,
man. Honestly, look, I could do 8 podcasts on how many times I've failed, and I'm a master at getting kicked in the teeth. In fact, that is my skill set. People are like, "Oh, you must be a good guitarist or songwriter." I'm like, "No, I can get kicked in the face a lot, and I just keep getting back up." Whether people want me to or not, I keep getting back up.
Well, I don't. There is a big component of keep moving forward. That lots of people have said that, like, you're going to get knocked down. You got to get back up. You got to keep fighting, unless you're ready to hang up the gloves and stop. Like, either
I feel like that. I think that's it. Honestly, like, it doesn't matter what you were doing, and even if you suck at it, if you're willing to keep getting back up and it hurts and you just keep getting kicked and kicked, eventually you're going to figure out, well, if I do this, I get kicked in, this part of my face. Maybe I should try doing this instead. Eventually you're going to figure it out. Most people, they just get tired of being kicked in the face. And something's probably wrong with me on several levels, but I got to the point where it was like a kick in the face means check off the list.
I'm on the right track, man. I'm
right.
close.
So I'm like, if I get 8 kicks to the face in one shot, even better, because that's off the list.
Right.
Well,
so they say that and somebody, it was probably Martin Seligman, wrote a book called Learned Optimism, but he talked about that life insurance salesmen used to go door to door, right? Had to sell insurance door to door, and that you kind of had two kinds of people. You had the people who saw, who realized that the statistics were not in their favor, that only 1 in 10 people was actually interested in buying life insurance. So when the door slammed in their face 9 times, they checked off their 9 no's, and now they were much closer to a yes.
Exactly.
And you get kicked in the teeth a couple of times, like, all right, closer, closer, closer. Here we go. Somebody's going to say yes.
Yeah.
Let's.
Right. Like, and I got some really hard kicks in the teeth, early out of the gate. And I feel like at the time I thought my life was going to implode and all that. But looking back, I'm like, I'm kind of glad that I got the hardest kicks to my face were when I was super green. And now it's just kind of like, is that it? You kind of get to this weird stride where you're sore, but you're still moving.
Yeah. All right. It's an awesome place to be. I hope to get there myself.
We should write a self-help book. I mean, look at us right now.
Look at
us.
This is high quality advice.
We just solved life.
Life. Done.
Life.
Thank you very much. If you want to know more about Chad Gerber.
This is last podcast. This podcast is the end because we solved everything.
We've solved everything. Yes. Thank you, guys. I can't top this episode.
Yeah. This is Nirvana.
It's Nirvana. So we've got a few more little things to cover if you've still got a little time.
I've got, I had some meeting thing earlier that was exhausting and boring, so this is great.
So, perfect.
Yes.
So one of the questions that I try to ask almost everybody is, what's the biggest fallacy in your business that it seems like everybody buys into? That's just utter BS, that's like, don't give it the time.
Gosh, man. In music industry, that's like 99% of everything. I honestly don't even know where to start on that one. I think one of the saddest ones is that good music will rise to the top. No, it will not. It is buried under 7 miles of just filth and trash. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just that's how, the industry works. And it pushes that if an 8-year-old has a song where the beat's a fart and it's playing and everybody likes it, then that's what's going to that's going to beat out the Beatles. Like, so that's one. The other one, I guess I'll just start with what somebody taught me when I was getting started. They said, if you're good, you don't have to pay anybody to make things happen for you. So if you have to pay somebody to want your music, or pay somebody, I'm not talking like marketing, but I'm talking like, managers or booking agency. If you have to pay them, just walk away. And I know that's probably contradicting what I said about good music rises to the top, but it kind of forces you to be creative on how to get to the top without shilling out what little money you may or may not have.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I got stuck in that loop with Sony Music back when I got started, because an A&R rep liked what I did. When I got to LA, they liked what I was doing, and they're like, send us some music and send us some music. And all I had access to was the big studios, and a friend of mine worked at it and would like cut me a deal, but it would still end up costing like $300-400 a song. And so I was like, money gone. And every time I sent it to Sony, like, oh, we love it. Send us some more. And I'm literally making fried chicken at Ralph's and then going to the studio all night to make this. I'm like, I'm dying here. So that was where, for me, I was like, I can't keep doing it, but what if I just go through the indie world a bit first, and make some money and figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. So adaptability and being able to just like survive, but there is no, here's how you do it. That does not exist.
Well, that goes along with the other component of what's the most kind of underrated concept that people overlook. Like, people overlook a lot of things. So what do you think people are overlooking most of the time these days in the music business? As
a like, to be an artist in the music world? Just from where I'm sitting, I think the key to survival right now, until things shift again, and to succeed, is you have to build alliances. Like, when you're getting started, you feel like everybody's your competition. But building alliances is a key component. If it's another band, another singer-songwriter, collaborating and constantly just having sort of a support group, a rising tide raises all ships.
Yep.
So what happens is you kind of form these crews, and then this person starts to pop off, and 9 times out of 10, when they do need somebody to jump on this record or the tour open, they pull you up too. The dangerous part about that is if you pull onto your team some lump that doesn't do anything, you want to try to find people who are just, maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're hustling and grinding hard. You want those people on your team, create an alliance, and just be like, let's do this together, because there's plenty of room for everybody once you just, break through the mud.
Yeah. Well, that goes along. I watched a quote from Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's kind of right-hand man, and it's really, they're a partnership between Charlie and Warren Buffett. And he said, look, there's no shortage of good people in the world. Find as many of those people as you can, get them in your life, and keep the rest the hell out. Like, that's just,
it's hard.
It's hard. Man, is that hard. Easier said than done.
A lot of them come in and they're like, I'm good. I'm a good person too. Take me. And you're like, oh, okay. And then they're the worst.
They're the worst.
So that's hard. So I don't know. I don't want to say don't trust anyone, but man, that's hard. I brought some horrible people in, and just setting off in bombs in the middle of what I'm trying to do, and having to rebuild, like, and even in retrospect, I'm like, what would I have done different? Hired a PI to follow him around? Like, I don't know how you vet somebody that's just that sneaky.
Well, actually, I talked to a guest.
Actually, I am a PI, and what do I do?
I talked to a guest yesterday who's an expert in facial profiling. I
love that stuff.
Yeah, he's got
that stuff.
He's got a course on it that I'm gonna.
Oh my gosh!
That everybody will have access to.
We should do that together. We should go into his class.
Yes, great. I'm on my way. Yes. Let's go. He's in Australia, so it'll be a little bit of a journey.
Never mind. Let's just do the podcast.
Yeah, we might have to do the remote class, but
definitely remote.
Yeah, but still that there might be a way. But otherwise, unless you're an expert in facial profiling, or whatever other kind of thing, I don't know how you don't have a couple of duds show up. And
I don't know.
And the question is then just get them out as quickly as you can once you realize that.
Get them out. Some of the worst ones that I had to deal with were the ones that some of the people I grew up with.
Oh yeah.
Which was the biggest sneak attack. I mean, my gosh, talk about endurance. You hung around for this long to just mess everything, like, wow.
Why? Over.
You know, and then you meet some other random person at a party, and then that's your ally for forever.
Right.
I don't know.
I
definitely should not give relationship advice. That's for sure.
That's a dangerous one. Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that.
I won't either. I don't have a good track record there.
No, I don't know what I'm doing.
On that wonderful note, if you want to know more about Chad Gerber, you can check him out on Instagram at Instagram/Chad Gerber, on Melusine.com or WoodrowGerber.com. All these links will be in the description. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, I'm Andrew Wallace, and we don't have a problem. We've got an opportunity.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I'm going to end with that. That's perfect.